Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am wrapping up my Spookathon reads. So I have 6 books to talk about, 1 DNF, and 5 that I finished all the way through. So my DNF actually breaks my heart because I never thought that I would be DNFing this author, but this is The October Country by Bradbury, and I just couldn't get into it. I think that possibly I'm not in the mood for short stories during readathons because you can't really get the flow of reading going because each story is so short, so then you are distracted like when you move on to the next story. Also, I didn't really like some of the representation in the first few stories, so I decided to just put it down. I'm not going to get rid of it, but I might try again later, or not. I guess I will see. So the first book that I finished all the way through that I want to talk about is actually a collection of poetry. So this is Bones Flesh, translated from the Italian by Cristina Viti, and the poet is Dome Bolfaro. This is a collection of poetry where each poem is the musings of an archaeologist as he is going through bones which have been found. And all of the poems are talking about the ways that bodies are deconstructed and come back together. It's very hard to understand what they're saying. Like, some of the individual lines are beautiful, but then the whole poem is kind of nonsensical. So I don't know. I said to my husband, I said, it feels like when you squint your eye and you can make out kind of a shape and it looks kind of cool, but then when you open your eye, like, you can't really understand what you were seeing. So that's how this collection of poetry was for me. I felt like I was experiencing something really beautiful, but I have no idea what I read. So 2 stars for this one. So the next book I want to talk about is The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan. And this one I read for the Red on the Cover challenge and also the spooky setting. So the novel opens with the main character Mary, who lives in this kind of walled off compound where the sisterhood runs everything. They're a collection of nuns who kind of govern and pass down the knowledge of the unconsecrated, who are essentially zombies. So all around the walls of the compound are the unconsecrated zombies, and they're constantly like trying to get in through the gates, but the thing is that they're slow and their bodies do decay over time. So Mary has actually lived in a world where the unconsecrated have been there forever. They've been there for centuries. So in this world, it's not like the zombie apocalypse is a new thing. Rather, it's a thing that's always been there, and it's so long gone now that a lot of people don't know how it first started. So as we open, Mary is trying to decide if she's going to join the motherhood or marry, or what she's going to do when something happens and all hell breaks loose. And the first third of this novel was absolutely so gripping and terrifying that, like, the unconsecrated, the zombies were just like on that other side of the chain link. And then there's another section where we're traveling with Mary, and on the other side of the chain link, like on the right and left, are also the unconsecrated. It was so eerie, but once certain events happened, the entire plot like took a nosedive, and I really didn't like it. So I think the reason the beginning was so successful for me was because I was intrigued by the world and the way that the compound was run and the sisterhood and Mary's kind of situation. But then later in the novel, when we're done with the world building, it's supposed to be a character study, but I think Carrie Ryan didn't fully expand upon each of the characters that we are traveling with. So when certain events happen later in the novel, I don't feel bad and I don't feel connected. I don't feel like what's happening is really impacting me. So honestly, I wish that this book had just ended after the first third and it had been a novella, because I would have probably given it 4.5 stars. It's that good. But I ended up giving it 3 stars overall because the middle and the ending were completely not what I wanted, and I didn't care at all. So womp womp. So the next book I want to talk about, I gave 3.5 stars, and it is another zombie novel. This is Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. And in this one, we are following a domesticated crow named ST, which is short for shit turd. and he notices that his companion, Jim, has started acting strangely and is starting to drool and rub his finger on the wall down to a bloody bone. And the people around the neighborhood are also acting strange. And when he realizes that Jim can't necessarily be cured because he's a zombie, he sets out to find help and to find other domesticated creatures that he can band together with. Now, the strength of this novel is definitely the voices. I really loved seeing from the different animals' perspective. I think the people who would really enjoy this book are those who really love animals, as odd as that sounds, but it's basically like if all humans suddenly stopped being able to do human things, what would all the animals do? And that's kind of what happened, and it talks about how certain packs and certain hierarchies in the animal kingdom start to reshift, and there's like fights breaking out for land and territory, and different ways to use human ideas and cunning to outsmart wild animals if you're a domesticated animal. I think that the reason I gave it 3.5 is that while the story is memorable, it's memorable because of the points of view through the animals, not necessarily because of the plot strength, if that makes sense, or my connection to many of the characters. Although I will say Dennis, who is the crow's best friend and his dog companion, I love Dennis so much, and definitely made me shed a tear on the train because Dennis is just like this huge, comfy goofball of a dog, and there were some such dangerous situations where I was like, no, Dennis, like, just hide. But yeah, so 3.5 stars. So the next book that I want to talk about is Wilder Girls by Rory Power, which is a thriller, which I gave 4 stars. So in this one, we are following an island which has the Raxter Girls Academy on it, and a talks had broken out, so the whole island is under quarantine, and all of the girls that were attending the academy are now trapped on the island. And the talks has spread so much that it has basically made things change about their bodies. So some of them have scales, some of them have hardened skin, some of them have bones that are protruding, some of them have things growing out of like their lungs and their mouth. It reminds me very much of Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and it's just very unpredictable. So we follow Hetty, who is one of 3 kind of main girls that we follow at the academy, and she is just trying to get through when one day she's made one of the people on boat patrol, which means that they have to traverse the island and pick up supplies for the academy, which is dropped off by like the Navy. So they have to go and they have to pick up the supplies and bring it back, which is like food for all of the girls at the academy. So when she leaves, she starts to discover things may not be as they appear, and like the reasons for the talks and what it's really doing and what they're really doing as they wait for help is all being questioned. So the strong points of this novel was definitely the world, like perfect. I couldn't look away. It's like a very much Orcs and Craigs situation where everything is new and everything has a potential to be really crazy, and I loved that about it. So I really liked the female dynamics in this book as well. There's a lot of really strong friendships and also some queer love in this story, and I just found it really, really good. The reason why it only gets 4 stars, I just felt, I wish that some of the relationships had been a little more developed, like maybe just 20 or 30 more pages where we had seen certain characters together more would have made the events which happen later on in the novel more impactful for me. So for that reason, I feel like I didn't fully connect with it, so that's why it doesn't get like 4.5 or 5, but I still really enjoyed reading it. I couldn't put it down, I couldn't stop reading it, and I do really and I do really highly recommend it if you can stomach body horror, which is an absolute, there's a lot of body horror in this, which is right up my alley, so 4 stars. Okay, so the last book that I want to talk about is A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I absolutely adored this book. I stayed up really late at night to finish it, and when I finished it, I was crying, I was a wreck. I had to like get out of bed and like have a calm down moment because it was intense. So in this book, we are following Elizabeth, who is left as an orphan at one of the great libraries of the realm, and she has been raised amongst the books, which are called grimoires because they hold spells. And she becomes an apprentice guardian to the grimoires because if they are damaged in any way, they can turn into malefics, which are huge, dangerous kind of demon monsters that are created from the spells and the material of the book itself. So one night there is an accident in her library and one of the books turns into a malefict, and as she chases it down, then events start to unfurl from there. So the second main character is Nathaniel, who is a bisexual sorcerer, and he draws his power from the demon that he has made a bond with named Silas. And this was just such an interesting world. The world building and the power system and the way that magic is bound with a demon and then you barter years of your life for the power was so intriguing to me. And so much of this book I loved. I absolutely loved. So if you love libraries, if you love books, if you love badass female protagonists, which I will just mention, I absolutely loved that the female main character protagonist, she always tried her best. She never made a stupid decision. Like, she was always brave and she was always trying to do her best for those she loves. She has an amazing best friend, Catrienne, who they have such a strong friendship that I'm like, yes, finally. Like, there's no cattiness, there's no anything. Like, they're a solid friendship. And then when she meets Nathaniel, their bickering is like, oh my god, music to my ears. Like, so good. And actually, a lot of the terms of endearment / insult that he tells to her are very similar to things that my husband sometimes tells me. Yeah, like, so I just loved it so much. So if you're looking for a fantasy that has queer rep and absolutely great world building and a really strong female protagonist and is all about books and libraries, then this would be your jam. I really loved it. So I've also read An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and I have to say, An Enchantment of Ravens, I think I gave 4 stars, but this one I'm giving 4.5. This one I absolutely loved, and I want to buy it in real life because I read it on Kindle, which was a mistake. I should have got it in real life, but yeah. So I really loved it. It's great. I highly recommend it if you like that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm just really jazzed, and thank you guys so much for watching. I've got a bunch of new subscribers lately, and I'm so thankful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just can't believe it that yeah, y'all like the dark, creepy, weird, queer stuff that I like. So I'm just really thrilled, and I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I'm gonna say bye for now.